It's no fake piety.
I can't say.
You sure? Try it. I tried, right? That was sincere. It was. The first one. Thania, Allahu Alam. Thalitha, Allah. Cat, huh? Kullu cat. Allah is good. Khair, inshallah. Are there any questions from the brothers here? Ahmed, Ain al-Atlas. Are there any questions? If not, we'll stop. Abir.
In the hadith, it mentions that everyone is staying in Mecca for 3 days. So, for example, if you were to make hijrah to a majority Muslim country and you were to come back to America, is this allowed in any way?
Person makes hijrah to a majority Muslim country.
Majority Muslim.
Does that also apply? What's important is that once you make hijrah, you're not to redeem it. You can't violate it. You have to uphold your hijrah. Unless it's absolute necessity. And this is one of the reasons why you should be mindful before you make hijrah. And of course, under any circumstance, do we support a person unnecessarily delaying hijrah? Nothing will be perfect in this hayat ad-dunya. Nothing. There'll always be money issues, this, that. It's always just like getting married. You'll never ever be what? 100% ready for marriage. There's always something you can. If you have an apartment, you get a house. If you get a house, you get a complex. You get a complex, get a boat. You get a boat, get a yacht. You get a yacht, get a what? There's always another car to buy. There's always something else to be financially what? Stable, quote unquote. There's always something. You can't go overseas and tell you it's always going to be a bill. It's always going to be something that you don't have. So we don't support that. But at the same time, the Prophet ﷺ, when he left Mecca, he had a plan, right? He had some type of strategy. He had a guide. He had, you do those things with your tawakkul before, during, and after. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Ahmed.
Does your stepchildren have any right to inheritance?
Does a stepchild have any rights to inheritance? It's a yes and a no answer. From one aspect, the stepchild is not from your loins. There are different people who are actually related to you through blood that won't receive inheritance or a full portion, or can be blocked out of the way. A half brother, a brother from the mother's side, so on and so forth, versus a full brother. Let alone someone that's not what? I would understand. But of course, as we explained, one of the solutions to some of these problems is the will. Wallahu ta'ala, that's in brief. Any other questions? What's up now?
Can somebody say, bless you to a disbeliever that sneezes?
Can you say, bless you to a disbeliever who sneezes? That's from the rights of the Muslim. You make dua for them when they sneeze. Wallahu a'lam. Fadal.
In terms of the Sharia of marrying multiple wives, so in terms of marrying two sisters at the same time, and it says so in that case, does that mean like before Tashriq, that when the two sisters were married to the same man, that they will be able to stay together, or
It's abolished. Period. Before, after, they can't remain together. Abolished.
so what is that meant by this?
That isn't specific. A person moving forward. A person continuing a thing. Something that took place before a person knew, before it was sent down, no sin. But it can't be what?
Oh, okay.
Continued. Period. Wallahu a'lam. Assalamu. Who's this? Khair. In my country, due to the stress and time, people do not like to queue up in front of ATM machines at the bank because they need paper, fiat currency ASAP. So what's the rule when opening a shop where I have the paper fiat money already available, and so I give the people the fiat money I have in exchange for the digital money from their ATM debit cards, but I charge them for this in order to make profit. For example, let's say a customer needs $100, so I give him $100 paper fiat money, and then an attorney gives me $120 digital money out of his ATM card. So this extra $20 is what I charged him for the service rendered. Sheikh, is this $20 charged regarded as riba? Akhi, did you get it? Jazakallah khairan. Like we said before, there's a problem with this. Exchanging currencies, whether it's gold and silver, dirham, dinar, dollars, euros, pounds, and so on and so forth. There are rulings pertaining to that. Bab al-sarf. And of course, there are many connections between a sarf and riba. There's no doubt about that. As far as charging a service for exchanging people's money, saving people the time, the effort, standing in line, Allahu Alam, this question is coming from a third world or underdeveloped country, the politically correct term, in which you may go to Western Union or MoneyGram and stand there for what?
Hours.
Easily 3, 4, 5 hours to get money. Or the bank is closed early today, etc. So there is no doubt you're providing a service for the people, you're making it easy for the people, and you have to make money yourself. And obviously it's a thin lane with regards to a service, a charge, versus actual riba, such as a late fee. Are you being penalized by you not sticking to your contract, or is it actual riba on a debt? Tomato. Some say yes, some say no. Like we said, the non-Muslim putting you in the will. Some people say that's a trick, going around, outflanking the rules. I can't inherit from this woman, so I tell her intentionally what? I'm not going to make the talaq, so I force her to make a khula, method. Alright? What's important is that there are many issues today in which services are charged, a cost is for a service that according to the original way wouldn't be allowed, or at least makruh for sure. What's important is only Allah knows what you have to go through to open up the shop, rent, insurance, the time, the effort, the hardship that people have to go through to get money. You're making it easy for them. All of that isn't to be done out of the sheer kindness of your heart. So avoid it if you can. Stay away from it if you can, for sure. Whereas there's many things which are problematic with this. And if you can't, try your best to make a minimal charge in which you make something to sustain yourself, not too much for the people. And as we've said many times before, the whole entire economic system. And of course, riba is from the greatest sins and from the ugliest sins. There's no doubt about that. May Allah protect us. But many people, they only focus, they get tunnel vision or target fixation on riba, and that's it. And they don't realize is that there are 20 other haram issues pertaining to this house, pertaining to this car, pertaining to this medical equipment, pertaining to these ovens and stoves for your halal pizza restaurant that you're trying to open up. You know how much an oven costs? A pizza oven, how much? Sufyan? It's very costly. You think they're paying out of their pocket? So on and so forth. So may Allah make it easy for the whole entire world with regards to the economic and financial system. وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Fadal, you make the then, inshallah we'll see it. You don't have to go ahead, keep it on.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح.
لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Are there any other questions before we stop? Fadal. someone who's reciting Surah Fatiha and they're making mistakes, can you pray behind them? Well, it depends on the mistakes. Perfection versus something which is clear, outward, distorting the meaning. Waliyadu billah. If a person recites the Fatiha and they say something, they recite something that changes the meaning, it's clearly haram, no doubt, you pray again. But at the same time, you have to give them advice. They shouldn't be the imam. They should sit down, take the time to learn the Fatiha properly. If they have a speech impediment or something that prevents them from saying it, they should not be the imam. Wallahu ta'ala. Khair inshallah. Fadal.
So, it said, all scholars of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah affirm that attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are literal and not metaphorical. But I just read commentary of Ibn Abbas, Suyuti, and Mujahid. They interpret Allah's shin as metaphorical and not an actual shin. So, does this mean that the scholars differed when it came to Allah, just Allah's shin? What about the hadith in Bukhari where the Prophet, peace be upon him, explained that it is Allah's shin? Or the hadith did not reach Ibn Abbas, Suyuti, and Mujahid?
In brief, with regards to the attribute sifatul saq, the shin of Allah. And do the scholars of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah unanimously agree upon affirming all of Allah's names and attributes, let alone this attribute? What did Abdullah ibn Abbas say, Mujahid say, etc., etc., etc. In brief, because we don't have a lot of time, simple bullet points. Number one, it allows no doubt the Salaf Salih, the pious predecessors of this ummah, unanimously agreed upon affirming Allah's attributes. The attributes that are mentioned in the Quran and Hadith, and that's a fact, no doubt about that. But just because they unanimously agreed on that, doesn't mean that they agreed on everything that was mentioned and attributed to Allah was actually from the sifat of Allah. Understood? Rather, there was a difference on, is it something with the idafa to Allah, sifat, or tashrif, tamlik, so on and so forth. Understand? As far as the text, which is clear, it is attributed to Allah, it's directed to Allah from the sifat, and they affirmed that. In brief. Point number three, and there are many examples with regards to Allah's names, not just sifat. Is Allah's name Al-Hadi? Does the Muslim take the name Abdul Hadi or not? Not that they differ on the issue of Walillahi al-Asma' al-Husna. To Allah belong the most beautiful names. But they differ on this specific name. Is it a name of Allah or is it attributed? Allah is the Hadi of those who believe. Al-Hannan, Mathalan. Al-Muhsin, Al-Sabur, Al-Rashid, etc. These are Asma, not even Sifat. But there's no difference of opinion among the scholars of Islam. The Salaf Salih is that وَلِلَّهِ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى. And the same applies to Allah's sifat. And there are real sifat, there are little sifat. And of course it's obvious and it's plain, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. For a person to come along and say, this can't be literal because of لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. That's foolishness. Right? Alright? As far as what you may find from some of the Sahaba, or some of the Tabi'een, which may seem to be figurative interpretation, then they may affirm the attribute, but they may say in this verse, in this hadith, in this place, this is what's meant. Or they may interpret it with the lazim. They seek the face of Allah, and from that is sincerity. From that is seeking Jannah. From that is seeking Allah's good pleasure. That's the lazim. But that itself isn't the actual what? Sifa. Right? That's in brief. والله تعالى أعلم صلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد. تفضل أحمد.